It's a wonderful afternoon. Thank you for joining us here on 60 Minutes Nigeria. I'm Uyi Agumofwegwe, sitting in for Egosa Agbonlao. This week on the program, we continue to talk about the development, the political development that is in Edo State. But we want to pay special attention to how all of this affects good governance, because we understand that in the final analysis, what people are looking at for is good governance, how that they will have good roads, they will have functional healthcare system, how that schools will be sound and robust in such a way that will deliver measurable value. Infrastructural overhaul, as it were. Those are the things people want to see. But how can we accomplish that? Where politicians across party lines, for example, can get their acts together and sit down to face the business of governance. Many persons have pointed to the, if you like, for what a better was, drama that we've seen in those states in the last couple of weeks, in particular, and how this ultimately rubs off on what governance ordinarily in an ideal environment should be like. But then again, the APC is not the only party that has had this kind of issue. It's been a long time coming, especially given our 21-year history of this uninterrupted democratic experience that we've been having since 1999 in Nigeria. We want to beat context into this discussion. We also want to bring in some new perspectives. I'm joined by two gentlemen here to help make sense of the conversation on the program this afternoon. From my immediate left is Barrister Daniel Ogbege, who is a politician and a lawyer as well. So it's always a pleasure to have you in the program.
Thank you.
And next to him is Bishop Austin Igbasa, a public affairs commentator. Thank you, Bishop, for joining us.
Thank you, sir, for having me.
Let's begin with good governance, gentlemen. I want to start with you, Daniel. When you talk about good governance, people would naturally talk about the process that produces those who are saddled with the responsibility of providing good governance. What has that process been like for us in Nigeria, especially as somebody who has seen it from the political party perspective?
Yeah, we've had a checkered history, if you count from 1960, of our political evolution. There was military incursion in our politics in 1966. So that means we only had 6 years of democracy. So it was hard for us for democracy to take proper root. And you would agree with me that a country as diversified as Nigeria, ought to have a continuous political process for democracy to be able to take root. But we only had 6 years before there was military incursion. People will say that, there were political upheavals at that time, and military incursion was always going to be inevitable. But I always tell them that India, that had independence in 1948, has never had military incursion in their politics. But they've had even more political upheaval between the time they got independence and even up to around 1991. But it was because they told themselves that democracy was the best form of government for them, and if they were going to develop, if they were going to make progress as a country, as a society, they have to hold tenaciously to the fundamental principles of democracy. So they told themselves there was no space for the military. I'll tell you something, the military actually destroyed the very fabric of our politics. They brought a lot of things to our politics that have made our politicians to behave the way they are doing now. We are talking about not having respect for the rule of law and not having respect for the people, always militarizing everything. That's where we got all of this from our military background. But one will also say that since democracy came back in 1999, that's 21 years now,
right,
that's enough to be able to build. We can't continue to call ourselves nascent democracy, that it is enough time for us to build on it. Now, if you do not get the politics right, you can never get the economy right. And if you do not get the economy right, the socio-logical makeup will never be right. So we have to get the politics right, to get the economy right, to be able to get the society right for ourselves.
I'm going to talk to you about a few more things, especially those ones with legal elements in them, because at some point the Constitution, which of course lawyers like yourself will say is the grundum, would find its way into the conversation. But let me talk to Bishop Igbasa. I spoke with a few gentlemen last week, Thursday, and one of them said one of the areas where we missed it with our democracy is, I mean, it was in 1999, that the people who came into power, the bulk of them who came into power at that time, they didn't have the capacity to deliver as far as leadership is concerned. He said those who had the ability, who had the capacity to deliver, those who were even passionate about fast-tracking development in this country, did not trust the military enough to hand power over in 1999. Do you see any truth in that?
There is a truth in that. What happened in 1999 was that those who have excess money and who can take all kinds of dangerous risks were people that came on board then, because the real genuine people who are compassionate about leadership in Nigeria, right, and even some persons in Adeco then who fought, were not trusting the military that they will hand over. So they felt that if I have a peanut in my hand and I have the masses at heart, if I now throw the peanut into the ring, when I knew that the umpire itself is not ready to leave the stage, so it will be a waste. So those people that came on board, most of them, 75% of them, were people that said, if I throw it in, it doesn't go, I have my resources, I have where I got it from. So the real people who were behind the shadow, who felt that there's no trust in this, and we are just pushing and see if eventually they are going to hand over. So that one affected us in 1999. And also this to say that, well, as my learned brother have mentioned, that we are still, what we are running today, I will call it military democracy, because when you analyze again, you look at how the 21 years that we are spending in democracy, you see that even within the 21 years, how many years that we have people who were in military who are back in Agbada to rule us again. And don't forget that this thing is a mindset. You can't pull off from it. And where we are coming from is like we are still in the same place. The Bible talks about the children of Israel, that they left Egypt, but the reproach of Egypt was still with them. The children of Lot, they were no more in Sodom. They were in a different place, but they drugged their father and raped their father as a virgin. What happens to them? That is out of the accumulation of what they saw in Sodom. They were virgin, but they are the one that raped their father. They drugged their father, and they raised children from their father. How do they get this kind of mindset? They were raised in Sodom, yet they were still a virgin. But that's why they are virgin in their body system, but in their mind, they are no more virgin. So what we are still seeing today is a carryover from the military. And I'll give you an example. A lot of people today who are also governors and here and there, some of them are product of those who were in the administration of the military then. So we are still in that, we are taking our roots from the same place we are disconnected from. So, and that is why you see that, you hear at the time that somebody was telling us in this country that we are the military wing of a political party. Someone said we are the military wing. So when someone tell you
in a democracy,
yes, in a democracy, we are the military wing of this party. That shows you that it is not about the people. It's about this military wing. What they decide is what they are going to bring to every person. So the participation, the massive participation in this democracy, when you put it, the ratio is very, very low. So you can't say you are running a democracy when the input of the masses is like 1/10. And the input of maybe one man or the military arm of a particular party dictate what happened. And you call that one democracy?
Most times when you talk about Nigerian problems, you hear people use adjectives like fundamental, systemic, and so on and so forth, right? A lot of persons would argue very vehemently that one way we can fix Nigerian problems, especially where those problems are connected with leadership and governance, is to go back to the political parties themselves. They say those problems are fundamental to how much of progress we're going to make and how quick we're going to make that progress. So they say, let's go deal with internal politics before we come talk about electioneering. In general, do the parties look like they understand where we should be going, really?
The challenge of military handover to us, I discovered that a lot of persons were not prepared for the democracy, even while we are demanding the handing over totally to the civilian, that we want the government. The preparation, I think within that period, now I give you an example. those who are coming into politics, even those who are going to go into House of Assembly today, it is only when they get into House of Assembly that they are to be tutored on what it takes, what is their real duty in that house. And for a first timer, it will take him like 6 months or 7 months to be able to learn the curve. You now see that even in our preparation, we need to prepare people from the grassroots. You are interested, you want to be a politician. Okay, which direction are you looking at? You want to be a lawmaker. What does it take to make law? Who are the people that raised other people and tutored them about what it takes to be in political leadership? What is your duty? What is your role? What are the things? Somebody become a senator today, for the first 1 year, he's still a learner. He doesn't even understand what is a plenary, what is okay, when it's going to go with screening, okay, when we divide this thing, get my share to me. You see some persons are even in Senate, they don't even come regularly for sitting. Why? Because the guy is not even having the understanding of what it takes to be in that position, or what is his real duty. If you have learned the curve, when you aspire for that position, your political party will have been able to assess you and check you and look at your kind of mindset, and it will be it will not be dictatorial. It will be in such a way that there will be participation from all, and out of our best, it will be meritocracy, not mediocrity, where somebody will come and say, he is my junior brother sister, so this is the person that is going for, even though if he's going to go there and he's not going to say anything. We have seen a senator that was in the National Assembly for 4 years, and they don't even raise up hand to say something throughout the 4 years, and yet he's representing his people. But how does that person get there? Is the issue of being military. We are using military mindset to run our political party.
And that doesn't work. That's what you're saying. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
I want to talk to you about something else. We all understand there are extant political issues in this country, whether within political parties or outside of them. But it will appear the immediate one, that is the one right in front of us right now, is one that has to do with the All Progressives Congress, especially in Edo State. But we also see that drama now playing out at the national level as well. We've seen, of course, how there has been a switch of chairmen within the APC at the national level. But let's domesticate the discussion. A lot of persons are saying, from all the issues we're seeing concerning the APC in Edo States, the party is heading for a constitutional crisis. What do you say to that?
Well, it seems so, but I don't think it's exactly like that.
Okay.
Because if you look at it, what they need to do, or what they needed to do, we are done.
Okay.
People do not have a holistic knowledge of the situation on ground, so it is easy for them to make permutations that are not on all fours with the situation on ground. What is the situation on ground? The current governor of Edo State was a member of the APC, was disqualified by the screening committee set up by the National Working Committee. Why was he disqualified? They've explained discrepancies in
Credentials.
his credentials. Maybe I won't go too deep in that, but they said discrepancies in his credentials. The discrepancy in the name on his NYSC discharge certificate.
Okay.
So I believe that was sufficient reason to disqualify him. So I'm not sure from that point that there will be issues coming from there, especially the fact that he has resigned from the party and is trying to go to another party to contest the general election. So I'm not sure there will be issue from there. Then the issue as regards the chairmanship of the party in Edo State, that is still before the court. And the court will decide one way or the other in the fullness of time. Then as regards who is the acting chairman of the party, the constitution of the party is very clear on it. When the chairman of the party is not available to play his role as chairman, then the deputy national chairman from his region takes over as acting chairman. Then when that one is not able to play the role, then the national vice chairman directly from the sub-region of the national chairman takes over. So I think that's what the APC has done. Somebody came up, the assistant secretary or the former assistant secretary came up to say that he was taking over as chairman of the party. I believe that in a civilized society, he ought to be arrested for impersonation. because it was clear when the acting chairman came up, he said that the man resigned his office as assistant secretary of the party.
Right.
When he was going to contest for election in the governorship election in Rivers State, he resigned. So maybe it was not ratified by the decision was not ratified by the National Working Committee, and which they did yesterday, they ratified it, and that is that. And since then, we've not heard from him. So it's so pretty clear. But when people start believing everything they read on social media, that's essentially a problem, because on social media, anybody can put anything there. So it's not really a problem. I don't think there'll be a problem in the party as regards maybe constitutional crisis and all of that. What I think might be a problem is if maybe the court tomorrow comes up to say Pastor Sagi Izeyamu is not the governorship, was not eligible to contest as governorship candidate. Nowadays, our courts come up with all sorts of ridiculous rulings, decisions, and judgments. And so, as a lawyer, at times, we find it hard to criticize the judges on television or in public, but we try to look at everything holistically. So if they come up with that, I will not really be surprised.
There are people who have said that we must blame to an extent politicians for destroying the judiciary. Of course, you are a lawyer.
I agree with you perfectly.
That we must blame politicians
I agree with
for intentionally destroying the judiciary.
I agree with you.
Yes.
Perfectly.
Where does that leave us as far as our politicking is concerned?
There are three arms of government. You have the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. Now, even under the military, for the finest time, the finest moment for the judiciary of this country was under the military.
How so?
Especially in the 80s, especially under Ibrahim Babangida. Landmark judgments that they came up with at that time. And most of our biggest jurists were in the Supreme Court around that time. When you talk about Oputa GSC, you talk about Waifo GSC, you talk about Otutu Obaseki GSC, and a lot of these Kayode Esho GSC. Most of our biggest jurists came up at that time, and they gave judgment without fear or favor, even when there was the military. But nowadays, I think, and I say this with due respect to the bench and our politicians, I think that our politicians have corrupted our judges. And it started with election petition matters. Yes, I think so.
Okay, we're going to talk a bit more about this. Bishop Igbasa, there's also the elements of money bag politics. They say our electioneering is too expensive. People need to have a lot of money. Just for example, the first pointer will be the cost of buying forms. Say you want to become governor of a state, for example. You are not even the candidate of a party yet. Just to say I'm interested. Just to say I want to show that I want to run. Of course, you have other people buying the form as well. You're hearing millions. You're hearing a lot of money. Those are the ones on record. And then you have the ones that are not on record, the ones that happen behind closed doors, and so on and so forth. There have been calls for us to find a way to rejig the system in such a way that people don't have to break the bank to become governors or senators or local government chairmen. Is there any chance we can change that anytime soon? It
will be very, very difficult, because the people who are supposed to have been able to make that change, who will make that change, they have gone through the same process. So they felt, that's what you see now. You see some persons were governor. When they were governor, they want to be free, they want to do what is in their heart, but when they get to Senate, they want to, from Senate, control a sitting governor. But while they were governor for 8 years, they didn't allow anybody to tamper with their own. But when they got there, because, when people feel that this thing will not benefit them, when it has to benefit them, they go all out to make sure that they get the benefit from that. But if it's going to be for other persons, I'll give you an example of somebody who paid heavily to come in and become a candidate of a party and got in there, pay a lot of money. Now you now want the person to be part of a process where they will now make nomination form, expression form to be free. He's going to be part of it. Now I feel that they decided to make it difficult for genuine people who are compassionate, but they are not monetarily blessed by God to take the position of leadership. And you see that with this money bag, with this money politics, even if you have potential of leadership, somebody will handpick you, somebody will have to handpick you and put you there and sponsor you, then you'll be accountable to that money back somewhere. It was intentionally designed that even as you are now, if you want to be made a state governor, it is possible, even without money. But you can't do it without a money bag. Who will feel that, oh, this guy is intelligent, he will be able to do one or two things, and I can press his button to ask him to do this and this for me. Okay, let's put our weight behind that guy, and they put the money. So we see it happening in the time of Chris Ngige and all that. Though the young man who did that, they have to sign an undertaking. So for us to remove it, it will take a revolution to do that, because those who are on board now will never allow it. They won't allow a child of a poor man to just walk into the podium and come and become somebody within the party. It's not possible, because they want it like that, to remain like that. That is how they will become relevant in the scheme of things. That is, there are people that are not competing, they are not coming to contest, but they are the bank of those who are contesting. So, and that is what they do to make their money. So they must put somebody there, and if money is not involved, if it's going to be that you just get an expression, this thing with 500 naira or 5,000 naira, where somebody who is poor can just access it, then the money bag in politics will have nothing to do. So so many things need to change, because we talk about that, we look at vote buying. Because all the process of expression of nomination, that is not a guarantee that you will be you fly the flag of your party.
Right.
You see how much it involves, and when you are going, you don't go alone, you go with crowd of people. Either you charter a jet, or you are buying ticket for everybody that's going with you. You have started spending money from that end. Now when you now eventually get the vote of a primary election, you spend so much money for delegates, and you give money to people in charge of the party. So, and eventually when you now have to fly the flag of your party, then you have some amount of money to spend then, because now you are contesting with outsider. The internal expenses alone is so much. Then when you are not coming to face another political party, you start from security apparatus, you start from people in the other party, you start with political talk, militant and all that. That is why the mistake we made with electoral reform will have put this country on a better pedestal, wherein all this vote buying we have seen will have been a thing of the past by using that electronic system. But the people that are in charge, they knew that they will be out. Many of them will have not won. Some persons that are there now will have not been there if that thing was signed, and that was why it wasn't signed.
Amongst other things you've said, Bishop Igbasa, one of the things I'm taking away is the fact that we generally put selfish interest before the interest that of the country. That's the point you're making, right? Yeah. You were going to say something, I guess, but let me ask you something quickly just before you make your point. There's the fight against Godfatherism. We're seeing those who say we don't want godfathers, or we don't have godfathers. We've also seen one or two persons who came out even during campaign in 2012 to say we have a godfather. I've talked to people, politicians, I've talked to those who are watching from the sidelines, and they say it is a fallacy to say you can't have godfathers, because they say when in the US you have establishments, in the UK and all across Europe, there are people who must make the call, who must call the shots, who must determine who goes where. But the difference essentially between those in the West and those of us back over here is that for them it's country first. But in our case, we've been able to, for whatever reason, somehow raise men and women who are stronger than the system, including the political parties. Isn't that the case?
Many times we have made the assertion or the advice that we should build institutions instead of building strong men.
Who should build institutions?
No, we should build institutions, we as a people.
Okay.
Because there is nobody known as Nigeria. There is nobody known as Edo. We are Edo. We are Nigerians. We make up the society.
Right.
And we have to understand this. Now, why did man decide to put a set of rules and regulations in place and call them law? Because they saw it at that time where it was survival of the fittest. Life was nasty, British and short. You know, it was, if I saw your wife and I liked her, I will face you and kill you to take your wife. So it was fair. It was a jungle. So they decided to put a set of rules and regulations in place, and they call it law. Because they knew that if they didn't do that, they will all die. They will all kill themselves. So we must, as Nigerians, also sit down and say, if we allow this trajectory to continue, if we allow our country to continue on the path it is, then we will never go anywhere. We will never attain anything. We will die, our children will die, and it will continue like that. In fact, it will be worse. When we were growing up maybe in the 80s, Nigeria was far better than this. Benin City was far more orderly than this. People have said that every old government is better than the new one. But the new one, when it was opposition, was always criticizing the old one. When people speak against Godfatherism, I mean, there was a governor in the state who fought against Godfatherism, right, and criticized Godfathers and said he had ended Godfatherism. But when the governor handed over to a godson, people accused him that he was playing the role of Godfather. And the same governor who is complaining that the one that is studying is playing the role of Godfather is also playing the role of Godfather to a lot of other people. If you don't support him, you don't get anything in the state. If you don't support him, you are frustrated out of the party. You are frustrated out of the system. So people only mount criticism when it favors them. But when they are in charge, they like what they criticize. We must tell ourselves that we must build the system. We must build institutions so that one man will not be able to control every institution. The institutions will not be answerable to one man. It will be answerable to the people. Okay. And it will be about the people, and it will be about the law. The law, of course, is blind to everybody. But in Nigeria, of course, the law has eyes.
And that's not a good thing.
To be able to see, and it is not a good thing. Everybody must be equal before the law. Whether you are a man or woman, whether you are rich or you are poor, whether you are big or you are small, whether you are a governor or a janitor, everybody ought to be equal before the law. Well, any society where there is no equality before the law, that society is a highly decadent society.
We're going to push several parts of this conversation in a bit. My guests here really are concerned about the polity as it stands right now, and going into the elections proper, the governorship election 2020 in Edo State in particular. What exactly are we looking at? So what are the optics? What should the voters, the voting public, see as the criteria to determine who goes to Osadebe Avenue? Stay with us. Welcome back to the program. Let me talk to Bishop Igbasa quickly. As I said already, the elections are upon us in Edo State. In 2015, for instance, we started hearing inducement, voter inducements, and then it's like the anthem was raised again in 2019. Of course, in 2016 was the same conversation we're having about people buying votes, about people's PVCs being collected from them and giving 5,000, giving 10,000, giving 2,000. What does that say about voters themselves? Do they understand the power of the PVC? Because there's got to be the role of the people. We cannot continue to situate entirely the blame with politicians.
The issue is that many people have been able to see that the law is just for the poor, that is not for the rich. Why many people decided to be taking money is that they don't believe in the system. If somebody believes that his vote will count, that person eventually will not want to sell that vote. Okay. If he knows that my vote now will make somebody to become a councillor, and this person, I don't like him, I know he was antecedent, okay, I will hold my vote. But because the people knew that their vote doesn't count, that it is the issue of mouth. I give you an example. INEC is talking about card reader, and all of us knew what the constitution said about the card reader, and they themselves knew that most of the election they conducted, that they just gave people papers, and at the end of the day, the politicians studied and decided to know that whatever makes you win an election, it will take Jesus Christ to be able to help you use tribunal to somebody to take you out of there. So the people themselves lost confidence. They have lost confidence in the system. They saw that you can't compare the election of 2015, that I mean the election, presidential election of 2015 with card reader and all the rest of it. You can't compare it with all the election that took place after that election. Of course, we knew some places where people intentionally release water on the card reader's room in INEC office. We knew where they put fire. Almost within 1 week, we have almost 5 states of INEC on fire, and where the fire enter is the card reader section. Who is deceiving who? Now, because they knew that system, that electronic system that has helped us, that will have also, like the transmission of result and all that. Look at our show election, where we knew that some powerful people have to call and say stop the calculation, and when they come back later to make this thing, they say it's inconclusive. The inconclusive election, you see it in this particular regime of INEC. It is a strange language for us, and so many things happen within that system. Look at the election of Kogi. At the end of the day, when it got to Supreme Court, we had a judgment that shocked all of us, that the next man cannot take it. They have to give it to somebody who contested without due on election primary, not even the deputy of James Saleke, who was his deputy. That kind of judgment is touching. If you say it is the party that owns the bulk of the vote, what of the deputy government that share the same? Look at the election, the Bayelsa judgment of Supreme Court that said because they share the same ticket.
So one touches one, touches both.
Yeah. So why will that of Osun that time and Kogi will not make James Saleke to become governor? Since they contested on the same platform, but the judgment came as at the end of the day, the man in primary election was brought on board. Even the deputy governor was edged out that shared the same ticket. He was edged out of the whole system. And now you want to call that one justice? When the people that voted for Audu were in a Kogi, and they knew it was not the person that voted. Even the second election in Kogi, even devil knew what happened that day. Satan, that does not want good thing. But today, we are seated and we want somebody in Kogi to believe that his vote is going to count. When helicopter was called to help people who are saying, oh, we will fight for our right, and hold them, they cannot carry our ballot, this thing. Compare the number of ballots that was snatched after 2015 to the one of 2015, where the issue of card reader. Compare the violence that followed under subsequent election apart from 2015, and you now saw the reason why the Electoral Act was not signed, wherein everybody will be voting electronically and the result will be collated. There will not be anybody to make any. As they are collecting and it's coming on the system, people in America all over the world are getting the result, and you don't need to be a tactician or a mathematician or statistician before you can get the result of the election. But what I'm saying is that, you see, the system, when it is not strong, anybody can tamper with the system. Somebody came on board, you remember late Yaradua, he said the election that brought me, even when I declare him as a president, he said he's full of all kinds of it's not a
he said the process was flawed.
And the man started healing the process right as he hit his leg on ground on governance. That's how to know a leader. Not saying, oh, it has to benefit me. We see in this country when we say not too young to run, and people are asked to run in another tenure, not this time that they sign it. How many young men today find themselves in power? What I'm saying is that the system is weak, and the people in charge, they make the system answerable to them. I'll give you an example. They are saying the executive order is on judiciary, autonomy,
yes,
legislator, but at the end of the day now, the governors came with their power, and they said, yes, there are some technicalities that need to be checked on it. That one can take us another 6 months, and that particular executive order will not take effect. Why? Because of PSC's fed, this is going to affect the disbursement of funds, it's going to affect loyalty. Now you will see government will find it difficult to control House of Assembly with what is happening. House of Assembly will be so free to determine who rules them and what they want to do. Judges will be free on their own to be able to give any judgment, because they knew that they will not need a car, they will not need an allowance, they will not need any government to sign anybody to go for any refresher course or whatever. But look at it, people have come behind. The government forum has come behind. And today they said we are going to have some meeting after executive order, meeting here, meeting there. In 7-8 months, that meeting might not have a head, and that executive order will not be enforced.
So enforcement is going to be a challenge as well.
Yes.
Barrister Agbege, how do we deal with vested interest in politics? Because you will hear people talk about cabal, but whatever the nomenclature may be, the point is you've got vested interest in politics, and this interest will appear to, of course, enjoy preeminence or more prominence than the interests of the people, because they say power belongs to the people. That appears to be in theory in Nigeria. In practice, does it?
Well, it's not really only in Nigeria that is academic. When you say power belongs to the people, There's no country in the world where it is absolute.
Okay.
Honestly, we need to be honest with ourselves. There's no country in the world where you don't have vested interest. Vested interest is there in Nigerian language. Is the English language. In the UK, in the US, in India, in Germany, you have vested interest. But what we should look at is what is in the overall best interest of the greater number of people in the society. But in our country, because there's a choosing along ethnic lines, along religious lines, so people think first in terms of religion, protecting my religion, or protecting my ethnic group, before they even talk about protecting their political party and even as individuals. In the last 5 years, we've seen this played out in this country very strongly. I was here in this studio in the events leading up to the 2015 election, and I warned many times. I warned many times that what was coming, Nigerians did not have a full grasp of it. But they didn't listen. I recall there was a day here, maybe Sunday morning, if I can remember, there are shed tears here in the studio. But we are where we are today.
What was the reason for that?
No, because I said that the man that people were clamoring for, he was not who people thought he was. I said it many times. I said, well, I tried to expose him in many ways because I looked at his body language, I looked at the things he was saying prior to the election, the things he said long before, and because I also worked with the Buhari organization in 2002 when it was coming, just like every Nigerian, I thought that the man was coming to enforce discipline and fight corruption. That's what I thought in 2002. I wrote articles in newspaper. I was in final year in 2002. I wrote articles in newspapers and I came out with position papers. I addressed many conferences and fora, to try and canvass for him. But at the time, I started understanding the reason why he wanted to be president. Then I distanced myself a bit. And from 2007, 2011, I started canvassing against him. And in 2014, I came all out. That was when I joined politics. I joined politics because of Muhammadu Buhari.
So we are always going to have vested interest. Is that it?
We always have vested interest in Nigeria. And the most vested interest is ethno-religious.
Okay.
Yes, there's a tendency of a particular ethnic group in Nigeria to institutionalize a hegemony. I made this point several times prior to 2015 election to institute a hegemony that will not be in the overall best interest of the country. And that institutional hegemony will also go along with institutionalizing mediocrity. Excellence will take the backseat and mediocrity will be promoted over excellence. I made this point several times. But Nigerians were carried away. And just as in every turn, Nigerians are always carried away. In every country, you have people who you will say are conscious of the society. People who maybe God raised them, or maybe they build themselves to be able to see the signs of the times, to be able to understand, the direction that the society should be going at that point. Sometimes when they speak, majority of people should listen. But in Nigeria, people don't listen. They don't have the discipline to be able to know what you are saying, that, oh, this guy is making sense. This guy is saying, I believe I should listen to this guy. They don't have. And that's why some of us have decided, well, let us leave everything. It seems this is how we are. This is how we are created. So whatever is going to happen later, maybe we'll face it.
All right, Bishop Igbasa, people talk about the government in power in a sense, and they refer to it as the ruling party. All right, and of course you have the opposition. Are we playing opposition right? Because there's also the theory that if opposition understands the issues and then pursue those issues dispassionately with the overall interest of the people at heart, there's an extent to which it also helped to beat the ruling party to line. Has that been our reality in Nigeria?
We have not really seen it in the real sense because when you take your mind back to those who were opposition yesterday and they are in position today, you discover that what they criticized many years ago has become their daily bread now. And what they said was wrong. As far as they are concerned then, when they were in opposition, as soon as they get into power, they said, this is the best thing that can ever happen. And I've seen it in this country that what civil society also make noise about in yesterday government has become silent night, holy night in this our season. And I begin to ask myself why. I give you an example of petrol petroleum was taken from 80-something to 40-something, and there was no uproar. But in this country, we were here when the government was taken to 100, and people shut down Ojota, shut down the country for 7 days. But the same man who led them then was in London when the president even declared that it was taken from 80-something, and there was no uproar, as if salaries of people who are buying at 84 per liter has just been increased and you don't want them to be corrupted in their office. Where they fill their tank with 17,000, they are not going to be filling their tank with 27,000. Yet they must not steal in that office, because the Bible says the ox that tread the corn, you must not even muzzle his mouth. Now, when a government who was against, who instigated people, when somebody was raising it to 100, and as at the time they are taking it to 140-something, the oil was nosediving that was supposed to be selling at a lower rate. The same government who said subsidy is a scam, today subsidy has become their native name. What are we talking about? The people in opposition then, I saw one of them, I asked him, a man became a deputy governor in a state. I knew what the man wrote about former President Goodluck Jonathan. In fact, you will think he knows the man personally, that he's throwing stone on daily basis on social media. The guy today is a deputy governor of a state in Nigeria. Just see him after 3 weeks. The man has changed completely. Buying houses everywhere, buying lands everywhere. And today, I told one of his friends, ask him, so what of that criticism? The guy doesn't criticize anybody. He doesn't say, I don't understand how the thing works now. The guy is stealing the money. This is a man that used 6 years of his time to be fighting one man on social media every day. Every policy he analyzes and cancel it, alter it. But today is a deputy governor of a state. And that state is not moving forward and is amassing wealth everywhere. That same person that took 6 years to fight one man that you have not seen. So what I'm saying is that people, the opposition themselves are not genuine. That is what I see. If you are genuine about, are passionate about leadership, and when you criticize somebody, you give him another option on how to do it better. How to do it better. I don't criticize people for criticizing states. See, like my learned brother have said, we said this in 2014, we analyze and people are calling us all kind of way, but today they are sitting down in this same country where we told them, and one tribe is ruling everybody, and today we can see what is happening around us. Thank God that when we said on television then, people are still alive who listen to us then, and they are still alive watching what we said. Now our children are watching us. When somebody is in opposition today, he said this is not good. As soon as he joined maybe a central party, everything has become new. The thing he criticized yesterday is not the norm. So I feel that the sincerity of purpose the sincerity of purpose is not there. People want to sit down on the chair to be able to bless themselves. Like my brother said, there is interest. You can't remove interest from politics. We can't rule it out, and it's not only here in Nigeria. Right. So, but everything that have to do with us black, we have to do it to the extreme. We know people today that even the position they occupy, the rabbit in their village, the cockroach in their village is in that government house where they sat down. Everything that has to come from there, and there is no other tribe that have people that can. Every other constituent part of the constitution is sleeping as far as they are concerned. So what I think is that the position of the opposition, people are ruling today, they are still opposition. You see, when you say something, I was watching television, the same government that protested and removed a sitting government, today when anybody protests, you see another counter protest immediately. Even in Katsina yesterday, there was a counter protest that people say no, where people are losing their wife, husband, and children. Some people came and said, this is blown out of proportion. This is the best thing that has ever happened to us. Must everybody counter everything that people criticize about your leadership? That is not democracy. The beauty of democracy, opposite when Obama was president of America, a widow was opposite the state house, was raising up the paper, writing all kinds of bad things. In our country, can you write any bad thing about our leaders today, and your mother-in-law or your sister-in-law, the people that are even bearing the same name with you will not suffer for it? Is that democracy? So what I feel is that the opposition themselves, when they see the heat, everybody fall in line. Somebody move for impeachment of president over one particular money, a senator. But when the senator was treated here, the senator got back to this thing, he didn't mention it again. That is the kind of opposition we are talking. Oh, he just raised a point. And when he landed in the airport here, it was a citywide crusade. Now when the man returned back, he never talked of it again. Now, if institutions are strong, what the senator raised in that house is a germane point that an institution will take it up from there and protests will follow and will be able to scrutinize that particular whopping amount of money. It is a breach of the constitution. So, but when people are in leadership, they are the judiciary, they are the legislature, and they are executive together. So I feel that people their interest is above the general interest of the masses. After all, Awolowo was our leader here in Nigeria. All the people that enjoy free education, are they his relative? Are they his children? But today we have people in position of leader, that their son with the House of Rep, their daughter with the House of Assembly, their junior sister with their lodger, the other one will be in charge of this one and all that. Every position within their family. Does it mean that other people cannot be raised?
I think we're going to see whether Barrister Obege can answer that for us. Participatory democracy. Do we have that already, 21 years into practice?
You know, I always tell people that when you say you are light and you fail to participate in politics, then there will be darkness there. Even the Bible says that the light shines in darkness, and the darkness cannot comprehend it. So that means when you shine the light here, if there is darkness, the darkness will go away. So if we say that there is darkness in our politics, the problem is not the darkness. The problem is not how dark the darkness is, but the problem is the light that refuses to shine in the midst of darkness. So I've seen many people, they hate politicians. So people even tell me, why did you join politics? How can you join politics? No pastor can be a politician. No good person is in politics. Now, if the good people fail to be in politics, then nobody is going to come to your house to beg you to join politics.
Absolutely.
You have charlatans and touts playing politics, and they'll be political leaders.
Yeah.
So I always encourage people, and I'm talking to the people at home, that we all should participate in the governance of our society.
Sure.
We all must be interested in the governance of our society. If we feel we have things to offer, we all don't have to be governors.
Absolutely.
Some can be councillors.
Yes, sir.
There's nothing stopping a professor from being a councillor in the world. So can be councillors, some can be House of Assembly members, House of Rep members. There are many positions, but let us go into it. And the analogy I always use is this. In this studio, for instance, if everywhere is dark, if you light a candle and put it in a corner, it will not bring illumination to every part of this studio.
Right.
It will only maybe just illuminate that part where it is. But if you have 10,000 candles in this studio, everywhere will be illuminated. So when you have one person or two persons joining politics, good people, good people have things to offer, joining politics, they will be swallowed up in the midst of the multitude of bad people that are in politics.
Yeah.
But when you have so many going into politics at the same time, then there's going to be light, there's going to be illumination in the political firmament. And I've also advised people like this. Do you know that the bad things that happen to our politics have crept into the church? Here is a bishop, he knows what I'm saying. Today, it becomes hard for you to distinguish between a bishop or a general overseer and a governor or a local government chairman. You will see at times, you will see some general overseers, they are moving like this, and you will see their security details. You will see even their policemen are flogging people to leave the way. You will see the retinue of cars that go with them when they are going out. They are like Nigerian politicians as well. There is no difference. There must be a difference between, if you are a light, there must be a difference between
you. The bishop doesn't have security details.
No, I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about general officers. Right. You know, if you are a light, there must be a fundamental difference between you and those who you want to correct. You must show good example to the people.
I think that raises the question.
And they must be able to see that you are different.
Exemplary leadership. But I want us to talk about APC. As I said earlier, is the immediate issue that we have in front of us. There's crisis in that party. I mean, behind us, we've been able to leave behind us all the idea of living in denial. That's it was all well. It's obvious now. I mean, people know better now.
Yes.
But going forward, Bishop, we all understand that this fight is about the gubernatorial tickets of the party for 2020 governorship election. How do we ensure it doesn't get any worse than it is? Because since 1999, one of the issues we have grappled with in this country, as far as our politics is concerned, is violence during electioneering. How do we ensure this doesn't snowball into a violent development?
The typical Edo people here, they don't want violence.
Okay, they are peace-loving.
Peace-loving people. And that is why I criticize the president. When the election was shifted after the visit of the president, it was shifted for 2 weeks. I criticized it then because I said,
in 2016,
yes, so that if the commander-in-chief can come to a place and he returns safely, what other security breach, what other security threats are you talking about in that place that will not swallow the commander-in-chief? The commander-in-chief is the #1 person, and he came and nothing hurt him. He returned, and you said we should shut down for 2 weeks. Edo people are peace-loving people. Now, the leadership of the APC should look at it critically. Well, like what I've said, that if it is about the people, if this matter is about the people of Edo, it will have not gotten to the level it is now. But it is not about Edo people. It is about interest of those who are fighting. And I foresee a lot of things now that, okay, despite in leadership, Mr. Victor Biadon has a judgment of a federal high court on Justice Bature, that the man said he got it March 31st that empowered him to become the chairman of APC. Now, another question is that the chairman suspension has been confirmed. The things the chairman does within the time he was suspended in his local ward, those appointments, election, whatever he has done, the decision he took then, in the eye of the law, are they still valid?
We're blessed to be a lawyer on the
I'm not a lawyer now.
Yes.
That's why.
So you're asking rhetorical questions here.
That if the court now confirm that he has been suspended in his ward, what he does from that time till the time the court of appeal also confirm and they affirm it that he's suspended. Those actions he took, those nomination and all the things he supervised, in the eye of the law, are they still going to stand before, in the eye of the law, are they still standing? A suspended man that was affirmed, all the things he did then, minus eating of food, all the actions, what he signed, the places he preside, what is the law saying over it? That's the question. Now, after that one, this man that is sitting now, whatever he does between now holding a judgment of a court and the other man that the law said he should take over to administer over the party. Now, if there are two factions and they go that way and there's a litigation, then which means that whatever we are doing in the APC Edo State here before this judgment, if everything Comrade Adam does in the eye of the law is not valid, then which means those things that constituted, I'm not a lawyer, I'm just saying my own now because I'm going to let my learned brother to contribute. Right. Because if somebody say I'm not a bishop, that I'm not entitled to be a bishop, and I eventually inaugurate some deaconess, I coronated some people as
in the capacity of the general overseer.
Now, and the court judgment now say, from May last year, you are no more a bishop. If the people are given certificate as a pastor, can now claim that they are also pastor. I don't know if the law will recognize them as a pastor. That is one question. To quickly answer,
I want you to respond
to respond to that very quickly. You know, a stay of execution, when there is maybe, let's say, judgment against you, there is a stay of execution, it means that you can continue to do what you were not supposed to do before. Okay. So there was a stay of execution at the Court of Appeal at that time. At the time, Oshomole put those things, the committee together that did the screening, that suit form, and all of that. Of course, all he did were legal. That is the correct what some people have been saying. All he did at that time were legal. And today, as at the day for yesterday, when the court said that, when the court reaffirmed the suspension at his ward level, they must step aside, and the right person has taken over. What Biadon did was, of course, illegal. You can say that. Yeah. Since yesterday, the National Working Committee met. There are 20 members of the National Working Committee.
About 15 of them were.
Let me even say 19 members. Okay. 16 of them affirmed that the Deputy National Chairman South was supposed to act
in the capacity
of the National Chairman. Yes. Then, because he was not available, the National Vice Chairman South was to act as a chairman. Yes.
So in essence, all of those actions that he carried out,
everything is their job is not recognized. He was just assistant.
Gentlemen, I want,
and even the order that was given at that time was supposed to be for 14 days. It has already expired since April. I mean since March.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for the brilliance and illumination you brought into this discussion. Bishop Austin Igbazan, thank you for coming.
Thank
and Barrister Daniel Obege.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate your patience and coming on short notice.
Thank you.
We don't take that for granted. And that's our program on 60 Minutes Nigeria for this week. I'm Uyi Agumofwegwe. Enjoy the rest of your day.